listening to This Week in Big Sky Football, a comprehensive look at all this week's action in Big Sky Football. Now here's your host, Scott Garrard.
Down the home stretch we come as we get you ready for the final push in the Big Sky Conference season. We got a big episode of This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Scott Garrard. Big thanks to John Oglesby, who filled in for us last week. No vacation in the Big Sky Conference last week, though, and there won't be a vacation this weekend. It's rivalry week. Great lineup of guests to celebrate the greatest week of the regular season college football. We've got Montana State coach Jeff Choate joining us in just a moment. Weber State quarterback Jadrian Clark in segment number 2, and then we'll wrap things up as always with a conversation with Stats Craig Haley. Before we get out to Coach Choate here in just a moment, let's review last weekend's games in the Big Sky. First, North Dakota come from behind win over Northern Arizona 38-31. Fighting Hawks had to claw back from a double-digit deficit, found a way to get a home win. North Dakota's regular season is done as the Fighting Hawks end the season on a 9-game winning streak and going a perfect 8-0 in league play. Probable playoff spot is coming down the pipeline for UND. Eastern Washington also staying unbeaten in league play thanks to a 48-17 victory over Idaho State. Eagles struggled a bit early but turned it on in the second half, utilizing a Cooper Kupp punt return for a touchdown. Yes, he returns punts too. In that game, Kupp also became the all-time leader in FCS receptions with 7 catches in that game. Eagles try to go undefeated in league play on the season this weekend. Weber State stayed alive in its quest for the FCS playoffs. They got a 22-15 victory over Cal Poly. Wildcats held Cal Poly's rushing offense under 200 yards as Weber State took an early double-digit lead. Everything's still out there for the Wildcats, who have a chance to finish the league in a solo third-place finish. Sacramento State earned a win in its final home game, and how is this for senior night performance? Jordan Robinson rushing for 262 yards in his final home game. Sacramento State gets the win over Portland State. Final score there, 42-35. Northern Colorado earning its first ever win as a Big Sky member over Montana, 28-25. Bears had a punt block as they turned that into a touchdown. Northern Colorado is guaranteed to finish with a winning record for the second consecutive season. First time that's happened in the program's Division I era. Southern Utah playing a non-conference game against in-state rival BYU. Cougars jumped on the Thunderbirds early. Southern Utah loses that game 37-7. And Montana State getting its first win of the season, picking up a 27-13 victory over UC Davis on Senior Day in Bozeman. And with that, let's go out to the phones and welcome in the head coach of the Montana State Bobcats, Jeff Choate. Coach, how you doing?
I've been okay.
So let's.
Been okay. Excited to get after it this week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. How much better does all that early morning conditioning and weightlifting feel after a win for your young men in this program?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been an interesting year to say the least. You know, we had 2 non-conference wins early in the season, and then we went through a stretch where I'm listening to you describe the teams that are having some very, very good years. Well, you know, we played all those teams. We played North Dakota to a 2-point game here in Bozeman, very competitive against a good Eastern Washington team early in the game. Then they kind of got away from us a little bit, went down to Weber and didn't show up early. And, you know, we kind of went through a tough stretch. Even look at their non-conference. We opened up with Idaho. It's going to be bowl eligible, I think, for the first time in over a decade. And so I think in hindsight, we took a young team into a season and played a very, very competitive schedule. And for us to be able to you know, change quarterbacks in midstream and now you start to see some of the confidence and continuity coming together on the offensive side of the ball. And we've dealt with a kind of a rash of injuries on our defensive line, and those guys played very, very well against a running team in UC Davis. And so it's gratifying to get a victory, and certainly gives us a little bit of confidence and a little bit of a boost going into rivalry week.
I remember talking to a first-time head coach, and I asked him what it was like, and he said it was like drinking water from a fire hose. What's it been like for this first go-around as a head coach at Montana State?
I describe it a little bit differently. It's like, you know, you get this job, and it's like getting a present, and it's got really nice, pretty wrapping paper, and there's a really nice bow on top, and you open it up, and sometimes it's not exactly what you thought it was going to be. And that's kind of what this experience has been like for me. You know, walked into a situation in January, got here on January 4th, and the athletic director came in and said his contract wasn't being renewed, and our marketing person was losing their job, and basically was flying solo for the first seven months on the job until we got some stability in our athletic department. So that was the first set of challenges that we had to deal with, and then obviously, you know, that was the second, because the first thing that happened was Dakota told me he was transferring to Oregon, and so you know it was an interesting time. But I think that, you know, I really feel like we've kind of weathered the storm, and we've got some good kids in the program, creating some stability and some good vision moving forward with Leon Costello, our new athletic director. And I think some of those rocky days are behind us, and we've got some real positive things to look forward to.
Mm. You know, you talk about being close in a lot of great games this year, and your team has certainly shown a lot of fight. What does it take to get that team to that next level where they're not just playing in close games, but they're closing out those close games?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think it's there's a talent gap. And you look at that and you say, okay, when Bubba and his boys came here, and I watched those guys walk out, I'm like, well, these guys look more like what I'm used to seeing. I mean, that's a real good looking Division I football team. They're mature and physically developed up front, and they're committed to running the football. They play a physical style, very aggressive on defense, and I mean, quite honestly, if you'd have told me before the game, hey, you're going to have a chance to tie this thing in the last 2 minutes of the game, you might not get it done, it'll only be a 2-point loss, I'd have probably said, hey, deal, let's move on. Because I felt like we were severely outmanned in that game. And I thought our guys were very game and fought hard. You look at what Eastern's got, the maturity, that senior group of receivers that they have that I think could play just about anywhere in the country. And so I think that's a part of it, is you got to close the talent gap. You do that through recruiting and evaluation. And then the second piece is development. And I think that's another area where we can improve. Especially when you play a lot of young guys. We played 24 redshirt freshmen and true freshmen this year. And I think that's an opportunity for us to get in a weight room and focus specifically on lower body strength and functional movement. I think that's an area where we can take a step, is that development piece. And then I think the culture part of it is the third element to that, kind of changing the mindset. And I think that takes about 18 to 24 months to fully instill, because you got to get 2 classes of your guys in, so that at least half of your roster is here because they believe in the things that you believe in, not because they believe in somebody else's vision of the program.
You've had a freshman quarterback in Chris Murray. He seems to have made some strides this season. What is it about Chris that has he encouraged for the future, and what steps does he need to take?
I think it's a lot of the things we just talked about. I think he's had the opportunity to play quite a bit of football, and he's a very unique athlete. He's very fast, elusive. He's got to learn to make better decisions. One of the things that we really struggled with through a losing streak was our inability to value the football the way we need to, and that starts with that quarterback position. And so I think, some off-season maturity and education in the football intelligence world, and then also his physical development. I think he's got a good motion, but he's just not a very strong guy right now, being 17 until mid-October, and didn't lift a lot of weights, was a basketball player in the off-season in the summer at Lawndale High School. And so I think his physical development and into the weight room becoming stronger, and then really learning what it means to be a quarterback at this level in terms of the preparation and the study that you have to do. But he's a special talent for sure.
Obviously, this weekend's a big one. Regardless of what kind of season you're having, you go to Missoula to take on Montana. It's a big one there in the state. What do you tell your team about this game? Do you try to treat it like just another game, or do you hype it up into the rivalry?
No, I don't think you need to hype it up in Montana. I don't know how much time you've spent up here, but there's only two kinds of people in the state. You're either a Bobcat or you're a Grizzly. So it's around them 24/7, 365. So, but I don't think it's another game. I think that's a political answer. I mean, I understand that this is an important game for our alumni and our university and our program and our players and the state of Montana. And so that's awesome. That's awesome. And it's a playoff environment for our kids, and it's going to be a tremendous opportunity for us to go up and compete against a very good football team. And there's a lot of tradition and history in this rivalry, and I'm excited to be a part of it. I've had the good fortune to be a part of a number of really good rivalries, and from what I understand, this one is right up there with anything in the country.
No doubt. Obviously, for those that don't know, you were previously at the University of Washington. I'm sure while you were there, you kind of realized that program is about ready to make the jump that they've taken this year. How difficult was it to say, you know what, I'm going to try my hat as a head coach and make that jump to Montana State?
It wasn't hard. I felt like this was a good fit for me. I went to, got my undergraduate degree at Western Montana College over in Dillon. My wife's from Dillon, Montana. Always wanted to be a Big Sky coach. Felt like I had really done what Chris had asked me to do when I got there in terms of developing our special teams and our defensive line at Washington, and have a tremendous amount of trust and respect in what he was going to be able to do there. I told him flat out, that we were on the launch pad there. I felt like we'd recruited well. I thought that the culture was in place, and I'm a big Washington fan, and excited to see the season that they're having. I know they took a tough one against SC last week, but that's hey, you in this business and in life, you better not use that rearview mirror too much. You got to look forward, and I feel blessed to have this opportunity. Bozeman, Montana is an unbelievable place to raise a family and live, and Montana State is an awesome place to work.
Coach, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us. Good luck this weekend. Look forward to catching up with you again soon.
All right, take care.
You got it. Montana State coach Jeff Choate as the Bobcats get set for their big showdown against the Grizzlies this Saturday on Root Sports. Take a break. Come back with Weber State quarterback Jadrian Clark. We'll also visit last weekend's Root Sports Players of the Week, and we'll give you all the tiebreaker scenarios for the Big Sky title. It's all coming up next when we return here on This Week in Big Sky Football.
NCAA Division I FCS football is a game of perseverance, integrity, passion, character, and sportsmanship. As he works to honor the game, every FCS student-athlete grows in his responsibilities as a student and as a member of his campus and community. Dedicated to personal growth and success in the classroom, the NCAA Division I FCS, every down, every day.
The Big Sky Conference has a new app. Search Big Sky Conference on the App Store and Google Play and download the new free Big Sky Conference app. Watch live conference events, connect with Big Sky social media accounts, and access premium exclusive content. The Big Sky Conference app, now available for free on the App Store and Google Play.
Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football.
All right, welcome on back. Segment number 2 here on This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Scott Garrard. Really excited to catch up with Weber State quarterback Jadrian Clark here in a moment. But first, a couple points of business we need to take care of. First, let's review our Root Sports Players of the Week, as Jordan Robinson of Sacramento State is your Root Sports Offensive Player of the Week after he rushed for 262 yards. North Dakota's Deion Harris, your Root Sports Defensive Player of the Week, had a pick-6 touchdown in that game, critical to turning the tide in that one. And we've called his name plenty of times as the Offensive Player of the Week, but that's not enough for this guy. He wants to go over into other areas. Eastern Washington's Cooper Kupp is your Special Teams Player of the Week. Kupp had a 76-yard punt return for a touchdown. Eagles get the big win over Idaho State. All right, let's turn our attention to the playoffs and the Big Sky's automatic bid to the FCS playoffs. So the way it sits now, Eastern Washington and North Dakota are tied at the top, with the Eagles having one remaining game. If Eastern loses, North Dakota's your undisputed champion and will earn the automatic bid. If Eastern wins, then the tiebreaker will come down to your Sagarin ratings, with Eastern Washington currently at 69, North Dakota at 129. So Eastern will get the bid at that point. Make sense? Well, we'll see if we can figure this thing out as it goes along. All right, time to head back out to the phones. Welcome in the quarterback of the Weber State Wildcats, who are making their resume push to get into the playoffs. Jadrian Clark, kind enough to join us. Jadrian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, excited to chat with you. We've been keeping close eyes on your program all season long. Senior day, big win for your program over Cal Poly. What does it feel like getting a win, not only in a Big Sky game, but doing it for those seniors on your team?
Yeah, a lot of the seniors came in together 4 years ago, and for us to go out on top like that was really awesome. To beat a ranked team and get a big win on our resume is huge. Trying to make the playoffs, so that's gonna definitely help build our resume there.
You've been through some ups and downs there at Weber State, and obviously you're trending up as you end your career there at Weber State. What's that program's transformation been like? Because you've seen the low of the lows and now kind of the high of the highs for this program.
Yeah, Coach Hill's come in and done a tremendous job putting a plan into place and just showing us what it takes to become a winning team, winning program, and guys have just bought into everything that he's showed us, and things have just turned around like night and day almost from when I first got here to now. So it just feels amazing to go through that transformation and go through the whole process.
Here in the media, I've had a chance to know Coach Hill for probably about 10 years. One of the best guys to deal with from our side. But as a player, what's it like dealing with him on a day in and day out basis?
No, it's awesome. He has a ton of energy. Sometimes he puts the cleats on and runs around a little bit in practice, gets you guys going.
Does he still have it?
Oh yeah, he still got it. He actually always challenges me to a few different throwing challenges. We have like a throwing net that the quarterbacks use, and he beats me every once in a while. So he's definitely still got it.
Nice, I like it. So let's talk about your path to Weber State. What was it like to make that decision to go to Ogden, and and give us a little bit of your background on your life leading up to your playing days at Weber State?
Yeah, so I grew up in Lakeland, Florida. A lot different than Ogden, Utah.
A little bit.
So just a little bit. When I came on my visit, just saw what a great facilities and everything that Weber State could become, and just really thought that it would be a great place for me to come to school. I'm majoring in business finance, so I have a really good business school here. So academics are strong. That's another big reason why I chose Weber State. Came out and just fell in love with the place. Kind of wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be right away with losing and everything, but then when Coach Choate came in and got us back to the winning ways, it's like the dream come true. Couldn't have asked for a better career, and just love everything about it, and loved that I chose to come to Weber State.
How hard is it to change the culture of a program that may have been down for a while, like it was there at Weber State?
Yeah, I think it can be challenging at times. When Coach Hill first came in, he came in January spring ball, and winter conditioning was as tough as I've ever been around. A lot of guys didn't make it through that, and a lot of guys had to quit. I think sometimes it's an addition by subtraction. Getting some of the bad apples out of there was huge, and just finding the core guys that are bought into doing the right things and want to win and make football the priority. That's what we've done here, and just found that core nucleus and kind of moved on from there, bringing in new guys that are all about winning. And now that we've got that winning tradition, some of these younger guys only know what to win these last 2 years. So I just think it's just going to continue to grow from here on out.
Jadrian Clark joining us here on This Week in Big Sky Football. So you're in contention for that possible bid into the FCS postseason. Do you guys talk about that much, or you need to try to just focus game by game?
I think we definitely know it's there. At the end of the day, all you can do is handle what you can control, and we knew that we had to beat Cal Poly, and we kind of needed a few other things to shake out for us, which kind of did. We had Montana lose there, and so some good things happened for us that were out of our control. We're hoping that happens again this week. But we have to control what we can control and go and beat Idaho State. So if we don't do that, nothing else matters. So we're just really dedicated to preparing for this game. Last time we went up to Pocatello, we lost, so we still remember that and keeps us going. So we really want to win this game bad.
When you look at Idaho State on film, you got a rivalry game with them, as you mentioned. What jumps out on you on film when you watch that team?
I think that they're a little bit more talented than some people would say or expect based off their record. So I think we're going to have to come prepared. They're pretty base in the fact that they're not going to do a whole lot of different stuff. It's kind of just once you get a beat on them on film, then you just got to go out and execute. So last few teams have been able to do that, like Eastern Washington and stuff. So we're going to try and do the same thing and get out to a strong start and hopefully close it out.
You guys have dealt with some injuries throughout the course of this season. What have you been able to do to overcome some of those injuries and really rally together and still get the job done?
Yeah, we definitely have had a lot of injuries. There were 6 of us captains at one point, and now it's like I look around and there's like 3 of us left. Or 4 of us, sorry. 2 of them were missing, Cam Livingston and then Emmett Tella, 2 of our really strong leaders vocally and on the field. And then at the running back position, we've also had a ton of injuries. So seeing other guys step up and replace those guys has been awesome. Just kind of to see the depth that we've built in this program is amazing. So Coach Hill always used to talk about being that next guy ready, and if someone goes down, pick up the rifle, and we've definitely done that this year. So it's been awesome to see those guys grow. Some of those guys that really didn't get much playing time before coming to their own, and they're playing really well.
Well, we appreciate you taking a few moments out of your time for us. Keep it rolling this weekend. We're all rooting for you to get that at-large bid. We look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You got it. Weber State quarterback Jadrian Clark here on This Week in Big Sky Football. Coming up next, we'll chat with Craig Haley. We'll also discuss the upcoming weekend of games coming up and where you can watch them all. It's all straight ahead. You're listening to another edition of This Week in Big Sky Football.
The Big Sky Conference has a new app. Search Big Sky Conference on the App Store and Google Play and download the new free Big Sky Conference app. Watch live conference events, connect with Big Sky social media accounts, and access premium exclusive content. The Big Sky Conference app, now available for free on the App Store and Google Play.
NCAA Division I FCS football is a game of perseverance, integrity, passion, character, and sportsmanship. As he works to honor the game, every FCS student-athlete grows in his responsibilities as a student and as a member of his campus and community. Dedicated to personal growth and success in the classroom, the NCAA Division I FCS, every down, every day.
Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football.
Final segment of this week's episode of This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Scott Garrard. Big thanks, as always, to Austin Horton, who has been with us all season long. I think this is, second season here on This Week in Big Sky Football. We're going to be joined by Stats Craig Haley here in just a moment, but before we do that, let's look at the schedule of this week's games. It's rivalry week, and a lot of great games to get to. Let's start with the Rose City on Friday night. Root Sports is the Battle of the Dam Cup, featuring Eastern Washington and Portland State. Eagles with a chance to go undefeated in the league in a game that kicks off at 7 o'clock Pacific on Root Sports. Then on Saturday, it's the Brawl of the Wild and the battle for the Great Divide Trophy kickoff. Great Divide Trophy as it kicks off in Missoula with the Montana Grizzlies hosting the Montana State Bobcats. Coverage of that game kicks off at noon on Root Sports. Sacramento State and UC Davis play another edition of the Causeway Classic. That game kicks off at 1 o'clock. You can watch that on watchbigsky.com. Southern Utah, Northern Arizona play for the Hinton Burdick Grand Canyon Trophy Saturday with a 2 p.m. Mountain kickoff in Flagstaff. Find coverage of that game on Fox Sports Arizona along with watchbigsky.com. Weber State and Idaho State, another battle on I-15. 2:30 Mountain Time kickoff, watchbigsky.com. Remember, Weber State still contending for an FCS playoff spot. Northern Colorado and Cal Poly duel at 6 o'clock Pacific on watchbigsky.com as the Mustangs trying as well for an at-large spot into the FCS playoffs. And remember, watchbigsky.com, not only the place to catch all your football games, but we're talking about volleyball, men's and women's basketball. Big Sky Volleyball Championships are streaming there this weekend. Again, you can find it all on watchbigsky.com, whether it's on your desktop or your mobile device. All right, time to go out to the phones. Welcome in the king of all things FCS football, Mr. Craig Haley. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I like how you said rivalry week.
Yeah, it's rivalry week. All right, so we're coming down to the final weekend of the regular season. Let's start in Missoula this weekend. Montana, obviously in a must-win situation after their loss last week. Even if the Grizz pull off that win against Montana State, which we kind of expect will happen, are they guaranteed a spot in the FCS playoff field?
Definitely not. We know the Grizz lost, head-to-head to Cal Poly and Northern Colorado. So right now it's kind of hard to put them ahead of either one. Now those two teams play each other obviously Saturday, so one of them will fall to 6 and 5, and out of the playoff picture. But if Weber wins, against Idaho State, I think you have to believe a Weber team that's 6 and 2 in conference and in third place would look better than a 4 and 4 Grizz team. And when you add in North Dakota and Eastern Washington, I think the Grizz would be fifth for playoff consideration, and it's going to be hard for any conference to go beyond 4 playoff bids this year.
So let's look at this. In all likelihood, we could have 3 Big Sky teams finish with 7 Division I wins. That's Cal Poly, Montana, and Weber State. If you had to pick 2 out of those 3, who are those that the people you think would be swayed towards the most?
Well, if you're asking me, I'd go Cal Poly, Montana, and Weber State in that order. But you have to think the committee would go Cal Poly, Weber State, and Montana in that order, just because of Weber would be 2 games ahead in the standings. And at the same time, if Northern Colorado beats Cal Poly, do remember that the minimum for an at-large bid is 6 Division I wins, not 7.
Yeah.
A year ago, Western Illinois got in as an at-large team with a 6 and 5 record. So that's Northern Colorado. You say, then you want them to beat Cal Poly if you're a Grizz fan, but not necessarily because Northern Colorado beat Montana. So that's where I'm saying Montana might be on the outside looking in. Even though they're a quality team, they just might be fifth in the pecking order.
You know, I was talking to John Oglesby before we started the show, and I said, "What's up with Weber State not being ranked after that win against Cal Poly?" And he said, "Don't worry about the rankings that much. That's not something the committee is really going to rely on that much." Talk a little bit about Weber State and what you think out of this team and maybe their chances.
It's true what John mentioned. It's you don't have to be ranked to get into the playoffs. I think Coach Hill has done a great job getting his program growing. Obviously, it's been 2 strong years in a row. I think they were kind of the dark horse team in the league race coming in, even more so than North Dakota, because North Dakota had some success. I just think they're not going to wow you. They're going to get the job done with a lot of players contributing. Jadrian Clark has had a terrific year at quarterback, taking the big step. They have a good line. I just think they're a solid team, and yes, they're going to have a strong case if they win this week to be an at-large team.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about North Dakota. Actually, let's go to Eastern first. They move up into the top 2 in the rankings. And again, rankings don't necessarily matter that much, but do you think the Eagles, if they win this weekend, are a lock to get a top 2 seed?
I would think so. I've been saying that for a long time, and obviously, I think the committee has really liked what they've done, and have had them there in the top 2. Obviously, if you beat a rival like Portland State, not having the year that they won in Portland, but still it's a rival on the road, that still, to me, looks strong enough that, I think Eastern Washington's pretty safe for a top 2 seed. I say that at the same time the committee dropped Sam Houston from 2 to 5 in their rankings a week ago, so after one of the Bearcats' better wins. So, but again, I do think Eastern Washington's in good shape.
We got about 30 seconds left. North Dakota, do you think there's a chance that they end up with a seed?
I think they deserve one. I mean, it's a definite if Central Arkansas loses to Sam Houston this week. I do think UND even deserves to be ahead of Richmond. They had a common opponent, and that was Stony Brook. UND lost by 4 on the road, and Stony Brook blew out Richmond by 4 touchdowns. So, yes, I think UND deserves a seed.
Love it. Craig, always a pleasure to catch up with you. Let's do it again here in a couple weeks.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
That's Craig Haley of Stats who joined us. Also, big thanks to Montana State coach Jeff Choate, who joined us in segment number 1, along with Weber State quarterback Jadrian Clark. That's going to do it for this week in Big Sky Football. Join us in 2 weeks. We'll have a special playoff edition of the show as we'll get you set for the second round of the FCS playoffs. Until then, big thanks to Austin Horton, as well as the executive producer of This Week in Big Sky Football, John Oglesby. I'm Scott Garrard. Enjoy the games this weekend. Get you ready for the playoffs. We'll be back with you in 2 weeks here on This Week in Big Sky Football.